Qui Gon Jinn is one of my favorite characters in the Star Wars films. He was perfectly cast by Liam Neeson, who gave us, as he described, a monk-like character both mentally and physically, who isn't a rebel but has his own code. In this video, I'm going to go through his character's journey throughout the Star Wars series. I'm mostly going to stick to the canon timeline, but I'm also going to add parts from the Legends timeline that I think fit well into his story. I'll also cover his legacy and the huge way in which he changed the Force forever at the end of the video. This is the life of Qui Gon Jinn. Qui-Gon was a human born on the planet Coruscant, the home of both the Galactic Senate and the Jedi Temple. It became clear that he was Force sensitive at a young age, and he was taken by the Jedi Order to begin his training. He quickly became one of the most promising students at the temple. Jinn became close friends with a girl named Tal. One day, the two competed in the Exhibition Day, a tournament where older temple students show off their skills. Jinn and Tal made it to the final in a lightsaber tournament. The fight brought a lot of onlookers, including Jedi Master Dooku. He was very impressed with Jinn when he saw him beat Tal. Dooku strived for perfection and wanted to surpass every Jedi, including Master Yoda. To do this, he wanted the best Padawan, and he thought that Jinn fit that role. Dooku was an unconventional teacher, and the two never really made a connection. Qui-Gon found him intimidating, and he vowed that he would never train his Padawan the way that Dooku trained him. Dooku took Qui-Gon to the planet Ilum, where he collected his Kyber crystal to power his lightsaber. The two went on many missions together, where Qui-Gon learned a lot, despite Dooku's misguided way of teaching. Dooku continually told him that he would always be alone, and that betrayal was inevitable. When it was time for Qui-Gon to undergo his Jedi trials, he was greeted by Tal, and the two hugged, something that Dooku disapproved of. Right before he went in to meet the Jedi Council, Dooku told him that he was a great apprentice, but that he had one major flaw: his trust and affection for other people. He reminded Qui-Gon one last time that he would always be alone. Qui-Gon went to his knighting ceremony and was granted the rank of Jedi Knight. He had little contact with Dooku after this. He viewed their relationship as strictly master and Padawan. This was probably for the best, as he would eventually turn to the dark side and take on the name Count Dooku.
I've been looking forward to this.
Tal too became a Jedi Knight, but their missions kept the two friends apart for many years. Qui-Gon often defied the Jedi Council, and didn't always follow the Jedi Code. He sort of made up his own throughout his many years as a Jedi. This made him never become a part of the Council himself.
If you would just follow the code, you would be on the Council.
Jinn and Tal were finally reunited when they were sent on a mission together. The two got even closer and both cherished their time together. Qui-Gon was eventually assigned a Padawan named Obi Wan Kenobi. He trained him the complete opposite way that Dooku trained him, and he made sure that Obi Wan knew that he would never be alone. While on a mission, Tal was hurt badly, which made her lose her eyesight. She was captured and was unable to free herself due to her blindness. Qui-Gon and Obi Wan were sent to rescue her. When they got back to the Jedi Temple, they realized that there was nothing that they could do for Tal's injuries. Qui-Gon was there for her as she overcame this struggle. A few years later, Tal went missing in action. Jinn got concerned, and despite the Jedi Council's disapproval, he went looking for her. He and Obi-Wan eventually found her. Jinn pledged his life to Tal, and she did the same. The two then said aloud the feelings that they had long had for each other. After that, Tal was captured by Chief Balog, and he held her in captivity. He beat her mercilessly, and when Jinn found her, she was barely alive. The two had their final moments together, before her injuries made her die, right in front of Qui-Gon. This sent Jinn into a rage like he had never felt before. He went after Balog and had him at his mercy. Right before he was about to land the final blow, Tal's voice spoke out to him and told him not to do it. He regained control of his emotions, and instead of killing Balog, he handed him over to the authorities. Jinn made sure that he never went down a dark path like that ever again. Jinn and Obi-Wan were sent on a mission to the planet Mandalore, where a civil war had been raging. He and his Padawan were assigned to protect Duchess Satine, who had become a target for insurgents. The two spent a year protecting her on Mandalore. They were always on the run from bounty hunters, living hand to mouth, never sure what the next day would bring. The Civil War eventually ended, and the two returned back to Coruscant. Qui-Gon started having a little bit more contact with his old master before he turned to the dark side. He told Dooku about Obi-Wan, and he spoke very highly of him.
It's a great pity that our paths have never crossed before, Obi-Wan. Qui-Gon always spoke very highly of you.
Around this time, Qui-Gon began discovering the secrets of manifesting his consciousness after death. He discovered the wellspring of life, also known as the Force Planet. This was said to be the birthplace of life, and the origin of midi-chlorians, the thing that makes someone Force sensitive. He learned of 5 Force priestesses who had successfully manifested themselves into the Force to become a Force ghost after they died.
At death, in order for you to preserve your identity, you must know yourself, your true self, and then let go.
Jinn was close to discovering its location, but never did. He did, however, learn from a shaman of the Wills, who taught him that it took absolute selflessness to successfully master this skill. Obi-Wan and Qui Gon were sent on a mission to talk to the Trade Federation, who were blocking trade routes for Naboo. The Trade Federation was planning to invade, and the two Jedi were sent to negotiate. The negotiations never happened, and instead they tried to kill them.
Your negotiations seem to have failed, Ambassador.
The negotiations never took place.
Jinn and Obi-Wan escaped and landed on Naboo, where Qui-Gon saved Jar Jar Binks' life. Jar Jar swore a life debt to Jinn. He took both Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon to the Gungan city underwater, but he forgot to mention that he had been shunned by his people. They were forced to meet with the Gungan leader. There, Qui-Gon used the Force to persuade the Gungan leader to give them a transport to get them to the planet capital of Theed. He then told the Gungan general that Jar Jar owes him a life debt and that he must come with him. He, Obi-Wan, and Jar Jar then went through the planet core and arrived at Theed. There, they saved Padme Amidala and they made their way to Coruscant. While going through the blockade, however, their ship sustained damage and they had to land on a planet called Tatooine. Qui-Gon, Jar Jar, and Padme left the ship to go find parts to repair it. This is where Qui-Gon met a young slave named Anakin Skywalker. He tried to negotiate with Anakin's owner named Watto, but he said the Republic credits wouldn't work out here. Qui-Gon tried to use the Force on him, but was unsuccessful.
What, you think you're some kind of Jedi waving your hand around like that? I'm a Toydarian. Mind tricks don't work on me. Only money.
Afterwards, Anakin invited them back to his house during a storm. Anakin offered to compete in a pod race to help them get the parts that they needed. Qui-Gon bet the ship that they came in to Watto if Anakin lost the race. While preparing for the race, Qui-Gon learned a lot more about the boy and realized that he was strong with the Force.
He can see things before they happen. That's why he appears to have such quick reflexes. It's a Jedi trait.
He later learned from his mother that he was born with no father.
There was no father. I carried him, I gave birth, I raised him. I can't explain what happened.
This made Qui-Gon think that Anakin was part of an ancient prophecy.
There's something about this boy.
Before the race, Qui-Gon made one more bet. He bet Watto that if Anakin won, then he would have to free Anakin from slavery. He once again used the Force to help him in his favor. Anakin won the race, both freeing himself and getting the others the parts that they needed for their ship to leave. Qui-Gon brought him back to the ship. When they were almost there, a Sith Lord named Darth Maul unexpectedly came up behind them, and he and Qui-Gon fought. He told Anakin to run and tell the others to take off. He narrowly escaped and was very tired after the fight. When they arrived on Coruscant, he told the Jedi Council about the Sith Lord. He then told the Council about Anakin, and said that he thought he was the chosen one, part of a prophecy.
You refer to the prophecy of the one who will bring balance to the Force. You believe it's this boy?
He asked that the boy be trained as a Jedi. Obi-Wan told Jinn that he was skeptical that the boy would pass given his age. This is because most Jedi started their training at infancy. He was worried that Qui-Gon would once again defy the Council if the decision was not what he wanted.
Do not defy the Council, Master, not again.
I shall do what I must, Obi-Wan.
They tested Anakin, and they said that he would not be trained, just as Obi-Wan had thought. Qui-Gon then said that he would train the boy, and knowing that it was against the Jedi Code to have two Padawans at once, he said that Obi-Wan was ready for the trials to become a Jedi Knight. The Council said that they weren't discussing this now, and sent both him and Obi-Wan to Naboo to stop the invasion. Qui-Gon brought Anakin with them, and started teaching him basics about the Force.
Without the midichlorians, life cannot exist, and we would have no knowledge of the Force.
Before the battle began, the people of Naboo and the Gungans formed an alliance to fight back against the oncoming attack. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan were confronted by the Sith Lord that Qui-Gon had faced on Tatooine. The three had an epic battle. It was the Duel of the Fates. Toward the end of the fight, the three were separated by shielding. When it opened again, Obi-Wan wasn't able to get to them fast enough. It was just Jinn and Maul. Darth Maul got the upper hand and landed a striking blow. Obi-Wan finished the fight, slicing Maul in half. He then ran over to his master and held him in his arms. In his last words, Qui-Gon made Obi-Wan promise that he would train Anakin.
Promise me you will train the boy.
Yes, Master.
He is the chosen one.
Obi-Wan fulfilled his master's last wishes and got permission to train Anakin. At Qui-Gon's funeral, he watched his master's body be burned, an ancient Jedi tradition. While there, he told Anakin that he would train him and that he would become a Jedi. Qui-Gon did something with the Force that no other Jedi had done before him. He used what he had learned from the Force priestesses, and although he didn't complete everything, he was still able to make himself heard in the Force. The first time this happened was when Anakin found his mother. When she died in his arms, he slaughtered all of the Tusken Raiders responsible, and Qui-Gon called out to him.
Anakin! Anakin!
Yoda could hear this while meditating, but could not comprehend it. Jinn was never able to manifest his whole body, but was only able to use words. This changed, however, on Mortis, the most Force-sensitive place in the galaxy. There, he talked to his old apprentice, Obi Wan, as they discussed Anakin.
If he is the chosen one, he will discover it here.
He then presented himself to Anakin.
You have grown strong and powerful, just as I imagined.
Master. He told him that he would bring balance to the Force, and that he is the chosen one.
I believe you will bring balance to the Force, that you will face your demons and save the universe.
Qui-Gon successfully communicated to Yoda and told him to finish what he had started.
It is I, Qui Gon Jinn.
That cannot be. Dead you are.
No. I am part of the living Force, Yoda.
Yoda went to the Force planet and was deemed worthy by the priestesses. They gave him the knowledge to fully manifest himself into the Force after death. The Force priestesses instructed Qui-Gon to guide Yoda's training.
Here I am, ready for my next instruction, Master Qui-Gon.
Before Yoda went into exile after the Clone Wars, he taught Obi Wan how to communicate with his old master.
An old friend has learned the path to immortality. One who has returned from the netherworld of the Force. Your old master.
Qui-Gon.
How to commune with him, I will teach you.
Obi-Wan would later communicate with Qui-Gon during his time on Tatooine. Because of what Qui-Gon discovered, both Obi-Wan and Yoda were able to descend into the Force to become Force ghosts. Qui-Gon was a very wise man who gave so much wisdom to so many people. Many people in his life would not have been able to achieve what they did without his help. His influence lives on in so many, and his legacy will live on forever. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you liked this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You can follow me on social media, links are in the description, and look out for more great content.